I said, boom, walk on, bruv, you come here often? Well, if not, hopefully you do, because, you know, I'm a cool guy. You're a cool person. We should all be cool together. But no long talk, you've seen the title, and we're going to get right into it. Straight up.
Hey guys, Credit Shifu here, welcome to the show, and I'd like to say a big thanks and a big welcome to all the new subscribers we've added recently in the last couple of weeks. We've gone from about 5,000 to 12,000 subscribers within the space of a few weeks, so thank you very much and welcome guys. Today we're going to be looking at 6 things you should never do with a credit card. Number 1, cash advances. Now, in addition to using your credit card in a store, you can actually use your credit card at an ATM in order to get cash out. But this isn't really the same as getting cash from a bank account. It's actually regarded by the credit card companies as a short-term loan. And it's seen as a pretty risky loan at that. Now, if you think about it, if you use your credit card to buy things, the company can actually see which stores you're going to, what categories those purchases fall into, whether it's dining, travel, or whatever. And they see your purchases, they get an idea of your spending habits. If you're using your credit card to take out cash, they don't know what you're spending that cash on, all right? You could be a drug dealer and you're using that cash to buy drugs and then selling those drugs and using that money to pay off your credit card, right? They do not know. If you went to a bank and said, can I have a loan, and you didn't tell them what that loan is for, they would probably refuse your loan. So the credit card companies see it as a high-risk loan, and thus they're going to charge you a fee for that cash advance, maybe a $10 fee just to take cash out, or sometimes a percentage fee. But in addition, now this is the card member agreement for the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Look closely here. For regular payments, they charge interest after the payment date, okay? So you have like over a month to pay it back, otherwise you'll get charged interest. For cash advances, they charge interest from the day of the transaction. So that means as soon as you take that cash out, you're going to be paying interest on that amount of money. And that's because they view it as a high-risk loan, so they're going to charge you a lot of money for that privilege of taking cash. So I recommend never take out cash.
That doesn't make sense. It's like the same as those payday loans, those scam payday loans. You go, I think it's cash money or something like that. Haha, cash money. But yo, it makes no sense to try and get a cash advance on your credit card. Either you have the money or you don't. That's straight up. Either you have the money or you don't. Interest is the price you pay for the right to have something that you can't afford. Let me say that again. Interest is the price you pay for the right to have something that you can't afford. Boo! Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. Interest is the price you pay for the right to have something that you can't afford. A house is one thing, but like a car, bro, pay that shit in cash and go about your day. Unless you already have the money for the car and you're using it on a higher return on investment type of thing, right? That's the good debt. But most people don't even know how to handle the regular debt, let alone trying to game the system with a different type of debt. But yeah, either you have the money or you don't, straight up.
Cash with a credit card, and never use those little checks that credit card companies sometimes send you, because that's the same as a cash advance. Number 2, never miss a payment. So guys, this kind of goes without saying, on this channel I'm teaching you to use credit cards to your advantage, not to get bogged down with debt and decrease your credit score and screw yourself over, okay? So I teach that you should never miss a payment. Now I actually advise you to pay your credit card off in full every month, bring that balance right back down to 0. But at a minimum, you should never miss a minimum payment. I'll tell you why. Now first of all, if you miss a minimum payment, there's going to be a penalty charge, often between $25 and $35 that you're going to have to pay. But more importantly, if you miss a minimum payment, that credit card company is going to report some negative information to the credit bureaus, and you're going to have a missed payment on your credit report, and that in turn will cause your credit score to drop. So that's going to negatively affect your credit situation. So that's why I advise never miss a payment. And of course, it's best if you can pay in full every month, but at an absolute minimum, you have to pay the minimum payment.
Honestly though, if you see your card is coming up, like starting to creep up, maybe perhaps get into the habit of paying the card balance weekly. I'm just saying, right? Because you already have the money for it, right? So just pay it, pay it weekly, and you will not be so...
3 weeks later, many months later.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new.
Blindsided, I should say, by the lump sum payment at the end of the month. So you already have the money for it, right? That's why you're using the credit card. Get into the habit of paying it off weekly and you're good to go. And I think he will touch upon this, but also get into the habit as well of not using more than 30% of your actual credit card limit. So if your limit is $1,000, don't use more than $300. You don't need that extra stress, that extra anxiety about your credit card going down or you not being able to pay the full balance and carrying a balance. The credit card is just there as an extra, just something to build credit and perhaps get some cash back. But it should not be something that you use as a crutch for your daily expenses.
Number 3, never max it out. So you shouldn't max out your credit card, and there's a few reasons why. Let's kind of illustrate this with an example. So I teach that you should keep your credit utilization under 30% of the total amount of credit you have, and that's going to have a good influence on your credit score and your credit report. In fact, if you have a lot of credit, I would advise keep it even under 10%, which will be even better for your credit score. So let's say a person has 2 credit cards, each with a $1,000 limit. In order to keep under 30%, you could spend $300 on each card, or $600 on one card, and nothing on the other, or $400, $200. Anyway, you got to keep it under 30%, right? But if you max out one of those cards to $1,000, you're already 50% of your overall credit utilization, so you're over that 30%. All right, so maxing out credit cards is bad for your credit utilization. But also there's another thing. Credit card companies periodically may conduct reviews of their customers, check out your financial situation. Perhaps your credit score has decreased a little bit because you've been carrying too much of a balance, and your credit card is maxed out. Now, if that credit card company chooses to close your account, you're going to be liable to pay that balance off immediately. And if you don't pay it immediately, they're going to send it to a collection agency, and then you're going to get companies calling you up saying, we want to collect this debt, or else bad things are going to happen to you. Okay, so I would advise never max out your credit card. Always keep within 30% utilization. Never earn rewards whilst carrying a balance. So many credit cards earn airline miles or hotel points and stuff, and that's really great. And if you follow my advice of always paying off your credit card bill every month and never carrying a balance that you pay interest on, those rewards are going to really add up and you're going to get a lot of value out of them. But if you carry a balance, you're going to be paying interest, all right? So that is going to start eating away at those rewards. And if your balance is, reasonable, a few $1,000s, you're going to end up paying so much interest that it's going to cancel out the value of those rewards.
Most people's argument for using a credit card is always the cash back and the credit history and blah 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 blah. I'm gonna harp on this. I'm gonna beat this horse till the end of time, until I can breathe no more. Get yourself into the habit of managing your finances first before you start using the weapon that is the credit card. Right? If you don't even have $1,000 in your savings account, like an emergency fund, there is no reason why you should be using a credit card. Okay, if you already have a credit card, stop using it for a while. Build up your emergency fund, your $1,000 minimum, and ideally I would also say pay off any current debts you already have, so you can get into the habit of hating debt, at least the bad debt, and then go back to using your credit card. That's what I would say. But obviously if you carry a balance, the potential cashback or air miles rewards you're getting doesn't make sense. You're not even gonna get it, right? Because you can't give it to you if you have a balance that you still owe the bank, right? So
let's look at an example. Let's say you have a Sapphire Reserve, and let's say when you got it, you had some kind of irresponsible spending, and you've got a balance of $5,000. Okay, and each month you spend a bit more. Maybe you spend another $1,000. So you're up to $6,000. You pay that $1,000 off, but that still leaves a balance of $5,000 that you're carrying for each month. Okay. Now we've said you spend $1,000 a month, so let's say that's $12,000 a year, right? That you're spending on your card. Chase points for the Sapphire Reserve, it's 1 point on everything, 3 points on travel and dining. So let's just average that out at 2 points. And Chase points, according to the points guide, are worth around 2 cents a piece. Okay. So you're roughly getting about 4% return on your spending. And so if you spend $12,000 a year, 4% rewards, that's going to be $480 worth of rewards that you're going to get over the year. And that's if you spend, the best way possible. If you transfer your points to airlines, and if you redeem for cashback, you're only going to get 2%. So now, let's say you're carrying that $5,000 balance. Here's the card member agreement for the Sapphire Reserve. You can see APR between around 18 and 23%. So let's just average that, say it's 20%, and you're carrying $5,000. So over the course of a year, at 20%, you're going to pay $1,000 in interest. That's over double what you're getting in rewards. So that's completely cancelling out all the rewards you're getting from the card. There's no point getting those rewards if you're carrying that balance. My advice, if you do carry a balance, open up a balance transfer card like a Chase Slate or one of the other cards that's going to give you 0% APR for 15 months or 18 months or a certain period of time. Transfer your balance over so that you can pay it off in your own time, within that time limit, and you're not going to pay any interest on it, and then the rewards you're earning on your Chase.
Sometimes when you do that though, you still kind of get lazy because you're not really changing your behavior or your habits. So when you transfer it to the zero interest balance or credit card, you still might end up after the 15 months or the however many months, you still end up with the same balance. Potentially they could either take it back to the initial interest rate or even increase it. So usually just have a look at your current situation, have a look at your expenses, pay off all your current expenses, any other income you have coming in or your current income, pay your debt as soon as possible.
Or Reserve or whatever card you have are actually going to be worth it. Number 5, never forget an old card. So if you have a lot of credit cards, you may have some older cards that you don't really use very often, but you may use them occasionally to buy a few things. The worst thing you can do is to make a purchase on an old card and then sort of put it away in a drawer and forget that you did that, okay? Because even if you make, say, you bought a cup of coffee, right? And let's say you missed the minimum payment, you're going to pay like a $35 fee for missing a payment for a $4 cup of coffee, all right? And let's say if you've made a few $100s worth of purchases on it and then you forget about it, that's going to be even more, because once you've missed the payment, then you're going to be paying interest, and that mounts up. I had a friend who had a Macy's store card. He got the card just because they try and push it on you when you're shopping at Macy's. So he used it to buy a few things that day, maybe about $200 worth of things, and then forgot about it and didn't pay it. And he ended up a few months later with like a $600 bill because he'd accrued fees for missing the minimum payment, and then he'd also had interest, etc. So my advice is just at least once a month, check through all of your credit card accounts. If there's an app or some easy way you can do it on your phone, that's even better. Download the app. You can use a fingerprint to open it up, so you don't even have to type a password. Just open it.
Also, I would recommend, if you currently have a balance on your credit card and you want to perhaps pay a little bit less interest, talk to them. Yo, I'm working on my balance right now. I like to, is there a way for me to decrease the interest rate on my balance? You never know. Just ask and you might be surprised with the result.
Once a month, just go through, check out all your balances, make sure they're down to zero before their payment due dates. Number 6, never close old accounts. Now this one I've put last because when I say never, it's more like never with a little star and then a little small print down saying never close accounts if you want to maintain a good credit score or you're thinking of applying for a mortgage or some financial product where you need a good score. Because closing accounts, especially your older accounts, is going to decrease the average length of accounts on your credit report, right? So that's actually going to lower your credit score. So if you are thinking of doing something where you're applying for some kind of financial product where you need a good credit score, that's not a good time to close old accounts. Now there is an argument for closing old accounts. Obviously, if you never use a credit card and you want to close it because it really doesn't have much use for you, then go ahead and close it. But do bear in mind that's going to affect your credit score, and you certainly don't want to close several old accounts all at the same time. For someone who's relatively new to the credit game, so say 3 years, 4 years, I would advise you do not close your old accounts. For someone who's got a credit history more like 10 years, I would say it doesn't matter so much if you're closing older accounts because they'll have less impact on your credit score. But if you've only been doing it a few years, certainly you want to keep your first few credit cards open because those are the ones with the longest account histories. So guys, those are 6 things that you should never do with a credit card.
But yeah, that's pretty much the crux of this whole thing. I'd recommend y'all just focus on building your emergency fund so you can stop living paycheck to paycheck first, and then work on your current debts, student loans, stuff like that, any other credit card loans, and then if you so choose to, you'll be more financially built, like you have more financial muscle to deal with all the possible negatives that come with a credit card. But yo, God bless, much love, peace and joy, namaste. Always remember, if it doesn't feed you, don't water it, and too much of any good thing, credit cards included, is good for nothing. Alright fam, bruh, deuces.
But yeah, I still gotta flex in my off-white, yeah. Y'all know I don't do it for the glam. I ain't gotta say it cause you know I'm a man. Out of plans that I can't all fear that. Commas, I'ma clear that.